My name is Joelle Grace, and today I wanted to share with you everything I made in the month of November. So the project that took the most of my time in November is actually hanging here behind me. I think I'll just take a separate video clip of this to show you it. This is the ginkgo shoulderette shawl, but I used a hack to make it be larger, and it was supposed to be crescent shaped, but that did not work. This is made with BC Garn's linen yarn. I can't remember what it's called. And I made it for my mom, actually. She wanted to knit it for herself and started it, but it was hurting her shoulder too much. So I ended up taking it over and knitting it for her. And then we realized that pattern wasn't going to work. We were doing a slipped stitch ribbed cowl, and the sizing was wrong and it was too stiff of a fabric. So I just looked up shawl patterns and I found this one. And it has this really pretty lace design on it. I will say, through this project, I learned I don't think shawl knitting is for me. It was kind of boring. But I really did enjoy doing the lace part, and I know that she'll wear it a lot and enjoy it. I can't remember how much I had to start with, but I had 5 balls of the linen yarn, about this size, and I just kept increasing it. I was going to increase it until I had used up all but one of the balls of yarn, but then I just got tired of knitting it, and I also didn't want it to be too big. So I quit, and this is what I was left with, and I'm probably going to make a small headscarf or something out of this. I'm not quite sure. So that took up almost 2 weeks of knitting, and that was all I knit in that time. And the rest of the month, I made... trying to find my first project. I normally am really bad at keeping track of all the projects I do in a month, and I've wanted to do a month's look at what I've knit for a long time, but I always forget either what I've knit or I forget to do it at the end of the month, to film the video at the end of the month, and then I'm like, well, I'll just wait until next month, and then it never happens. But today it is the 3rd of December, and I'm actually videoing this. I would have videoed it before, but the 1st and the 2nd, I had a bad headache that just kept getting worse and would not go away. So, I did it today. Oh, and I forgot, I didn't even talk about what I'm wearing. So, this vest is the Olive's vest, I believe. I'll put the name up on the screen because I'm pretty sure it's Olive's vest by Knitting for Olive. And this is a sweater that my mom and I knit together, or a vest, I mean. A vest that my mom and I knit together for her, but she didn't like how high the neck was. It was coming up even higher. But as I've worn it, it's gotten lower. So I think I'm going to try to reblock this and stretch it out, make the collar lay a bit more flat, because I think where we attached the collar, it's just a bit too tight, so it's holding it up like a mock neck. But it was just too tight to her neck for her to want to wear it. So if I can fix that, she will wear it, but we'll see. But this is made of some of her homespun. I don't know the kind of wool she used. She had a few different purple wool. She had a few different colors of wool roving, and she just spun them together and did it in a bit of an ombre. You can see that. It has little bits of green in it too, so it really reminds me of lilac. So this is the vest that Mom and I made. We took turns knitting it so that... What was the reason? So
because
it hurt your shoulder?
we didn't understand the shoulders.
Yeah, we didn't understand the shoulders. It was really confusing.
I just didn't want to deal with the stress of knitting it.
Yeah, so Mom ombre the yarn, and it's more ombre in the front. A little bit more of a starker line in the back. Right. I forget which one it is.
Yeah, and then the darkest landed on the shoulders.
Yes, we saved some of the darkest for that, I think, right?
Hey, walk, buddy.
I don't remember, but Mom didn't like how high it was coming up. When she was wearing it, it was coming like to here, and then when I tried it on, it was a little bit lower, and then as I've been wearing it, it's been getting lower. So my plan is to give it back to Mom. She's telling me just to wear it.
Yeah, just keep it.
We've got to work on
it's homespun.
Mm-hmm. Mom's first knitting
it was
project
mostly
aside from shawls.
Yeah.
First garment.
No, I made Rhyyan and Lilley sweaters with homespun. Yeah, that was my first top of any kind for myself.
Yeah, and that's why I'm determined to give it back to Mother.
No. It's homespun. It was mostly gifted roving from Ravelry. Mm-hmm. And a lady named Cynthia.
2 or 3? I know this was one and this is one.
It was the lightest color at the top was one roving, and I had the most of it, but I didn't think enough to make something. I think it would have made it. But what I did was just split it with the other purple and tried to make it ombre. It looks a little more stark than I expected it would. But I should have faded it in when I knit it, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I like it.
I thought it was a little more subtle than
I haven't
that.
had a knit vest before, but I am enjoying wearing it because it's a good medium warmth thing. Because when I go into the cabin where it's heated, a lot of things are too hot. But this isn't really, and it's kind of a thinner knit, but it's still warm enough.
Right.
That I can run outside without putting on my coat.
It's so hot for me sometimes.
So that's all. That is
all.
the vest. It's a nice length too.
It was a good collab.
Yeah, it was fun to knit together.
Mm-hmm.
And the little bits of green make me think of lilacs. I think the purple.
I did that
next
for
to green.
you. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I didn't choose the color.
Yeah, she planned it. There's not very much, but it's a little bit. And that makes things more fun to knit when there's a small
The light
surprise.
color had a bunch of flecks of other color. The purples were just purple.
Yeah, this has little bits of yellow in it. And green. This one's a pretty stitch right here. Look. It's like, and then that one. I don't know if it'll show up, but it's pretty. I like heathered yarns.
Yeah, it's a little green.
And it looks really even. Like I did a really good job spinning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty
I
even.
say that and then I see like this.
The only part that I think was a bit more chunkier was this one, which sometimes the roving is really hard. That makes a big difference. And some rovings are hard to spin thin.
Yeah.
And purple.
Yes, lots of purple. My first project were these very cute little socks. These are... I may be rusty from not doing a knitting podcast in a while, but I got all my projects together and even wrote a list. These are the Tiny Toes Baby Socks by Woolen Cottage. I changed the pattern a little bit to have 8 rows of 1x1 ribbing before going into the main sock, just because I wanted them to match a pair that I had. So these are a little bit dingy because I've been wearing them a lot, but these are the Simply Ribbed socks by This Handmade Life, and I knit it in Cascade cotton socks, and I really like the yarn. I think it's like 9% or 11% nylon, and the rest is cotton, and they've held up pretty well. But on these, I did some 1x1 ribbing at the top before going into 2x2, and I wanted these to kind of mirror that. So I did 8 rows, and I think on these I have like 1.5 inches of ribbing. So I did 8 rows of 1x1 ribbing and then just continued as the pattern said for the rest of the sock. And I made 2 pairs of them, and I still have a little bit of leftovers, but not enough to knit another pair. And these took 15 grams each, which I feel like is pretty classic for baby socks. But these are my first baby socks, and I'm very excited. They're just so cute. And when I saw the little heel forming on the needles, it was just so cute. So I plan on using all of my adult sock yarn scraps to make baby socks, and I can't remember. I think I could probably make a pair in a day if I was working on them a lot, but these ended up being a sock a day. So I got these done in 4 days for the 2 pairs. And I would highly recommend this pattern. It's very easy, and I believe it's a free pattern. And I knit these on 2.25 millimeter needles. Next thing I knit was this Uppsala hat by Kate Osborne, designed for Kelborn Woolens. And it's supposed to be an adult's hat, but it looks kind of small. My sister Wisdom and I went through and knit a lot of the Kelborn Woolens bulky hats. We knit the, what was it? I don't remember what the other one is. It started with an A. I knit another sock for our friend and neighbor, and she knit, I can't remember the name of the hat. We both knit other patterns from the Year of Bulky Hats from Kelborn Woolens, and we gifted them to our neighbors, and they both fit them just fine. They were a little bit snug and a little bit, they still covered their ears fully though, and I know that it'll stretch with time. So I haven't tried this one on, and it should fit, but it just seems kind of small. And I still need to make a pom-pom for this one. I feel like it looks a little bit naked without the pom-pom. So I'm going to make that. And this is in Kelburn Woolen's Germantown Bulky in the color gray, I think. So next, I have been getting into vintage knitting patterns, and it has been really fun. I was always kind of intimidated by vintage knitting patterns because everyone talks about how hard they are and how difficult it is to figure out the gauge and the needles and the yarn size, and that the pattern instructions themselves were confusing. But I follow an Instagram channel. I think the lady's name is Instagram channel, mixing YouTube and Instagram. There's an Instagram account I follow, and I think the lady's name is Betty. And she makes beautiful vintage knitting patterns, and she knits them she knits custom vintage items for people, and everything she knits is just so beautiful. So I decided I was going to start doing it. And on Project Gutenberg, there's a lot of vintage pattern booklets. They're a little bit hard to find, but I will link a few of them in the description that I have knit from. This pattern I knit, I just love the 1940s and 50s and 30s vintage baby rompers. So I am knitting one of them in Pearl Soho's Good Wool in the color Freshwater Blue, and I love it so much. Unfortunately, I was using stash yarn that I had, and this pattern said it would take about 4 ounces of wool and possibly some additional wool in white, maybe 2 ounces, I don't remember. 4 ounces is almost 114 grams, and I only had 100 grams. I just kind of cast it on thinking it would work, not really thinking about it, honestly, just doing it. And I have run out of yarn, as you can see. So this is on hold until I can get another skein of this yarn to knit the rest of the front, and then I have to knit the leg bands and the bottom button bands. But I finished everything up top and saved the last little bit of yarn so I can alternate rows. I just have 2 more rows of ribbing and then the rest of the body section. And this is turning out so cute. I just love the silhouette of it, and I love it so much. This pattern wasn't too difficult to follow. This is from the Beehive for Barons booklet. I don't remember which number, on Project Gutenberg, and I can't remember. The only difficulty I had was they called these seam stitches. It's just a basic raglan. Once I realized I was just knitting a raglan, then it went very easily. But at first I was having some issues with my stitch count because I couldn't figure out what they're trying to say. But I put in some stitch markers to mark where the raglans were, and that made it a lot easier as well. And this is knit flat. It's knit in a raglan, and then you come and pick up stitches along the front and knit a panel of garter stitch, cast it off, and do the same on the other side before sewing it all together and joining it for the front half. I think this pattern could pretty easily be joined for in the round as soon as you were past these panels. I think it could easily be knit in the round, but for the first time of knitting this, I just wanted to knit it true to pattern. This pattern is actually supposed to be knit in blue and white stripes that start out narrower on the sides and get wider towards the center of the yoke. And I really want to do that. I have a vintage baby romper that is in a pale blue and white, but not striped. It's color blocked. And I want to knit this pattern again in the proper colors. So when I order more yarn for this romper, I think I'll also get the heirloom white colorway, and I think one's called honey or mustard, and then there's another blue and a green that I've picked out that I think would look really nice, just a pastel blue and like a seafoam pastel green, and then also the mustardy yellow. I think that would be so cute, just to have a set of 4. And this pattern comes in size 1, 1.5, and 2 years, and this is the 1-year-old size. And I think it would be fun to knit all of them in the proper stripes as well. The next item I have is not knitting. These are woven pot holders, and these are made from the loops from knitting, like the cutoffs from knitting looms for socks and such. And you can find them online, the loops, and this is something I've made ever since I was little. But I decided I wanted a set for my hope chest because they just last a really long time, and my favorite color is green. So of course I had to pick out the different greens, and I made 2 in this lighter green and 2 in this like hunter green. And then with some scrap ones, I knit this multicolored green one. And I tried a different technique of weaving them this time, and it led to a lot denser and a larger pot holder. Let me show you one of the regular ones. So this is one I made a few years ago for my mom, and you can see there's quite a substantial difference. Your fabric shrinks a lot and I think these loops might have been a little bit smaller as well, but it was made on the same frame. And I'm probably going to do a video on how I wove this one and the regular one, because this is a great craft for kids, and we love doing it here. And they make really great gifts too. But it just made a big difference in how the pot holder was woven. Changing how I wove the pot holder made a big difference in the size and density of the pot holder. So I'm going to continue doing that. But I figured a set of 5 was good. I might make some more in the future, but I also think I already have some in my hope chest, like 1 or 2. So I think that'll be plenty. And I want to make some quilted ones at some point, because I really like the look of the quilted ones, but I like how dense these are. Alright, the last project that I finished in November, I actually finished it December 1st, but is this little anchor suit. This is in the 0 to 2 month size, and I haven't blocked it yet, and it still needs buttons, but look at how cute. It's just so adorable. I knit this in Knit Picks palette in the color Rooibos Heather, and I actually ran out of yarn for this, which I've been doing a lot lately. If I don't buy yarn for a particular project, I tend to run out of yarn. That blue yarn was meant for a different project and another baby item, and the baby grew too fast. So, or maybe I procrastinated too much, a bit of both. So I didn't have a purpose, and I was trying to find a purpose for it. This yarn was also bought for the same reason. I just added it to my cart because I wanted to see what the color was like. And it's a really pretty color. I would say Rooibos Heather is a very good name for it, because it has that kind of reddish brown color that Rooibos tea has, but it also has little bits of purple that you can't really see except in the sunlight. But there's little bits of purple and red and yellow, and it's just a really pretty color. It's a little bit rough and rustic, but it's not too rough. I wouldn't make anything that's going to go right next to the baby's skin. Like this would probably be layered with a onesie. But it does get softer after blocking as well. My mom had some pants made out of this for my brother Azariah when he was little, and they were really nice, but unfortunately they shrunk because this yarn is a bit more rustic and it felts really easily. So if I had known that, I probably wouldn't have bought the yarn. But I do really like it. Anyway, I was knitting this, and I got to the point where it's time for the legs, and I ran out of yarn. I only had a small ball of yarn, and I knew it was going to be a while before I could get more, so I just didn't start on the legs. But then Jan on Ravelry kindly sent me the yarn to finish it, and I actually have a bit left, but it used more of the skein than I expected, so I was glad that she sent me a full skein. And I was very glad to get this finished off because it was waiting in my knitting bag since the beginning of June. And now I can block it and get buttons on it. I'm just going to use some little coconut buttons. I think it'll be really cute. But yeah, that's everything I knit and made in November. It was a busy month, and it feels like I didn't get that much knit, but I have to remind myself that that shawl took a good almost 2 weeks of knitting in most of my time. So I'm pretty happy that I got done, and it was just really fun. I think with this scrap of yarn, I'm going to pair it with some brown scraps that I have and some orange-ish brown that Mom has that she said I could use. They're all from the same... I have a problem with using up scraps because I want to use up every bit, or at the very least just have a small little ball for repairs. And that is why I often run out of yarn on projects, because I try to get really close to using up all the yarn. Someone is singing outside. But I think it'll be a good use for it and use up the scraps well. But that's what I was going to say. My problem is I don't buy enough yarn to have a lot of scraps in the exact same weight to use together on a project, or the colors just don't work well together. So I'm glad to have some yarns that actually go well together, and I will weigh them and see what size I can do. I've been trying to get better at weighing my projects, see how much yarn they would use, but also having knit more patterns, I now know how much yarn it takes. Like for this anchor suit, I weighed it and it was 78 grams. And I had a ball of the Knit Picks palette in the color hazelnut, and it looked like a lot of yarn, so I thought I would weigh it and see if I had enough, and I only had 50 grams. So it's kind of nice to be getting better at knowing how much yarn I need for things and getting better at weighing the yarn, because that really does help to calculate the amount. And I should have done it before that. It doesn't work as well for homespun. I have tried it with homespun. That's a bit harder. But it's a handy tool to have. Anyway, I would love to hear what you've been knitting, what you're enjoying, and I hope that this gave you some inspiration. And I would love to know what you have been working on or what you are planning on starting. Until next time, bye.
This is the part Joe was talking about, how it just kind of rolled over here.
It does roll over, but it kind of makes a peak.
But the shawl that I just did has a weirdness to it too that way, but...
Which I put a picture of that in the last video I did.
Yeah.
More of a focus, but it has a really nice drape.
I mean, I say, yeah, but I didn't know. I mean, yeah, I did see it. Duh. Okay. I'm not an expert at getting dressed or, like, looking cool, but... That's pretty much what I always do. I normally wear them a little, off the side. And I love orange and purple, so that's...
We're working on that. Purple hat, purple glasses, purple shawl, orange neck knife.
Last time I went to Costco, I accidentally had on the purple dress that Joelle made me, my glasses,
I think you had a headscarf on.
I was literally head to toe purple, except I had white linen pants sticking out the bottom of my outfit. And this lady's like, "I love your purple glasses." And I laughed at her because I never know what to think. And I said, "Thank you." And I was like, it was a whim that we went to town. And I was like, at that moment, I realized how I was dressed. And I was like, oh, gosh. So,
Mom's working on being her own version of Miss Frizzle.
More like that green lady in New York.
Yeah. Mom and I are both trying.
I do like Miss Frizzle, but I don't have anything as cool as that. Look, this is just a plain dress.
Monochromatic.
Yeah.
It's not, because it's not the same colors, but...
Does this look weird?
Bland. It looks fine. It's a little bit too... but it's fine. It's a slanting this way. More. Yeah.
You don't like it off center?
I think I do.
I normally go off center.
Just a little bit more.
What's going on here?
It turned itself wrong side out.
Oh well.
That's what happened.
Does it look cool?
So cool. Okay. Look at her. Fashionista. What she always wanted to be.
Exactly. Not.